What will they do by way of risking it in Chicago? Let's finish there. We talked earlier about the possibility of Jameis Winston supplanting Mitchell Trubisky. Ugh. Nick Foles has been linked to the Bears. Andy Dalton has been linked to the Bears. There had been talk of Teddy Bridgewater in Chicago. Obviously, that's not going to happen. He's going to Carolina. What in the world do the Bears do? And how at this point, Chris, do they not do something? You have shattered the ego and the confidence of Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, I don't think they're done yet. I don't. I don't know. To me, the two best options out there for the Chicago Bears, and I think Nagy and Ryan Pace, I think their butts are on the line here, definitely. And I think you got to go with somewhat of a proven commodity. I don't think they can dance with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I think that's too risky. Yeah, we talked about Jameis Winston. There's no way they can sell that. I mean, if he throws 3 interceptions his first time out there, they're going to have a riot in the streets of Chicago. It's got to be, to me, it would be Andy Dalton 1, and then probably Nick Foles 2 at this point. Nick Foles is going to know the system. He played in Kansas City with Andy Reid and Matt Nagy being there. So he will know that. Now, am I in love with Nick Foles? I'm not sure he's really a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm not. But is he better than Mitch Trubisky? Yeah, he might be. Andy Dalton's the guy that's the best of these guys we're mentioning. Andy Dalton's a good athlete. He's got a good arm. We've talked about it. There's a lot of positives. It's easy to crap on him because he's been in Cincinnati and they can't win playoff games. But he does have that experience, and that would make the most sense to me. And at some point, you would think the Bengals are going to get desperate. I mean, I think everybody expects Andy Dalton to be dealt. I mean, they're going to go Joe Burrow with the number 1 pick. I would be shocked if that's not the case, which is going to drive down Andy Dalton's trade price. And can they come to a deal with the Bears and Bears feel comfortable with it? I don't know. But to me, that's the one that makes the most sense.
Here's the thing about Nick Foles. When he went from the Eagles to the Rams, he was horrendous. Just horrendous. Yeah. I remember seeing him play on Sundays, and I'm thinking, this guy is just horrendous. What happened to Nick Foles? And it was so bad he almost quit football. He ended up in Kansas City, and that year that he got a chance to play when Alex Smith had a concussion, and I thought, hey, the door's opening for Foles to do to Smith in Kansas City what Colin Kaepernick did to Smith in San Francisco. There's a vague recollection that Foles wasn't very good. When you go back and look at his numbers from the 2 games that he played in significant amounts when Smith was hurt, they weren't bad. His passer rating was north of 100 back when it was a big deal to have a passer rating north of 100. So that was with Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator. And Nick Foles took the Eagles into Chicago and derailed a special season for the Bears by beating Matt Nagy to cap the last game of Nagy's first season as coach in Chicago. So you've got those memories. You've got that possibility. And between Foles and Dalton, if I got to trade for a quarterback, I'm trading for Foles. I am. I got him for 3 years, not 1. I don't have to worry about extending his contract or giving him a raise or anything like that. Foles will be happy to come in and have his contract honored. He's not going to make a big deal about that. He's made a ton of money for a guy that hasn't played all that much. Super Bowl 52 MVP. I think there's merit to taking Nick Foles in Chicago. And based on what I've seen of Mitchell Trubisky working with Matt Nagy, I'd rather have Nick Foles.
I understand your logic. I mean, your logic's good, and the fact that he knows the offense and Matt Nagy that's all correct too. I mean, there's no doubt about it. To me, I would rather have Andy Dalton. The contract situation, you're right, that does make it a little more intriguing, or maybe favors a Nick Foles in that situation. But I guess for Chris Simms and my quarterback evaluations, I'd rather take Andy Dalton right now over Nick Foles. But I do get what you're saying. And you talk about, I'm with you. When you said those numbers, my recollection in those Kansas City games was it was underwhelming. And again, we can't put too much, love into like the quarterback rating in time and numbers. That's where it can lie to you. The number 1 rated quarterback in 2017 was Alex Smith, and they replaced him with a quarterback that I don't think had a higher quarterback rating than him the next year, but was clearly better, okay? Or, yeah, he did. Okay, Mahomes, I'm looking at it now. He had a better quarterback rating. But either way, I have hesitation about Nick Foles and his game. Andy Dalton, I don't have as much. I think he's actually underrated and underappreciated a little bit because he's been stuck in the funk of the Bengals.
Here's Foles' numbers from the 2016 season when he was with Matt Nagy, who was in his first year as the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs because Doug Peterson had become the head coach of the Eagles. A game on October 30th at Indianapolis. That was the game Alex Smith got injured. Foles came in and was 16 for 22, 223 yards, 10.1 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
2 touchdown passes, no picks, a passer rating of 135.2. That was a 30-14 win. The next weekend home game against the Jaguars, he started that game and played the whole thing. 20 for 33, 187, 5.7 yards per attempt. Not impressive by today's standards by any means. 1 touchdown, no picks, 86.3 passer rating. For the year he finished with, because he just made a cameo appearance, I don't know whether to just take a couple knees or what, in the Week 17 win over San Diego. The passer rating for the year, 105.9, 65.5% completion percentage, 7.5 yards per attempt. That's what he did in 2 games in 2016. And again, it's not as bad as I remember. It's definitely not how bad he was with the Rams. With the Rams, he was horrible. So I'm just saying, look, if you are ready to move on from Mitchell Trubisky, I think Foles makes a ton of sense. $15 million salary this year, that's nothing. And I think it makes sense. They've already paid the signing bonus in Jacksonville, and you can get him probably, I don't know. Look, if they got a 5th-round pick for Calais Campbell, what do you get? What do you get them to give Nick Foles your contract for? A 5th-rounder? A 6th-rounder? I don't think it's going to take much to get him if they want him.
Yeah, probably a little higher than that because they don't have to trade him. You know, he has a good insurance policy right now to go, okay, Gardner Minshew's our starter. And it wouldn't be, you know, we would like to have somebody respectable behind them. They're going to be able to play that angle there. So they might be able to get something a little bit more than, you know, what they got for Calais Campbell because it's the quarterback situation, because of the contract situation that you mentioned, and that I think the Jaguars can make a legitimate case to say, we'll keep him. We're not really spending that much money on the quarterback situation as is because Minshew is on a rookie, you know, middle round draft pick compensation type deal. So, you know, I think that's where maybe they have a little bit more leverage and maybe drives up the price just a little bit more. But I don't think much more. Like a 4th-rounder might do it right there.
So just to summarize, we think Tom Brady to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We know Teddy Bridgewater to the Panthers. We know Phillip Rivers to the Colts. We don't know where in the hell Cam Newton's going to go, but it's not Carolina. And then Jameis Winston, who knows what's going to happen with him and who knows what the Bears are going to do. And that's where we are 1 day and 5 hours into the unofficial free agency period.
Well, yeah, exactly. I know it's amazing to see where, but you know, we just talked about Nick Foles, right, and Andy Dalton, and we didn't really include Cam Newton specifically into that conversation either. So that to me is, of course, going to be another, you know, facet in this whole thing because Cam Newton certainly, when healthy, and you mentioned all the medical, you know, things to be worried about. Yeah. He is definitely a better player and can rally the organization with his leadership as compared to a Foles or Andy Dalton.
Chris, I do not think that anyone touches Cam Newton until the COVID-19 restrictions end and you can bring Cam Newton to your facility and have him fully examined, completely examined, thoroughly examined by your doctors because you've got the ankle, you've got the foot, you've got the shoulder, and anything else we may not know about on a guy who is Superman, but the problem is he's getting whacked over the head with kryptonite for the past 9 seasons in the NFL, and the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, and you hit a guy enough times and he's going to get injured, and that's what happened over and over again to Cam Newton.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.